So this last part of your refresher training, we've just been looking at the manager's role. So what sort of things does a manager do? So what we're going to have a really quick look at today is navigating around the dashboards and how dashboards can sort of help you in a live auditing capacity. We'll have a look at the reporting, and we'll just have a quick look at how you create a new person. And I'm not sure if managers are responsible for that or if this is done centrally, but we'll just have a quick look at the wizards anyway. We're not going to go, it literally will take 2 minutes at the end. So there may be some people on the call or watching the recording who it does apply to. Okay, so as a manager, when you log in, you still have the same landing screen as everybody. You'll see the people that you work with. If you're a manager, if you've been set to a manager at a certain location, you should be able to see all of the people at that location. If you're an area manager, you'll be able to see people in that area, and it's unlikely that you'll be going into individual records on a regular basis. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a look around navigating the rest of the system. So the first thing that you might be doing as a manager is linking to a person. So what that means is your members of staff, as we've seen in previous training sessions, your support workers can only see the data that they need, only for the people that they work with. So for GDPR, data protection, they can't see any data for anyone that they don't have any contact with, no information that they don't need. And to do that is on the right-hand side here. So at the bottom of your menu, just below the alert panel, we go on to link to a person, and that will take you through. So we can see here, don't know if we've got any more test service users. There we go, we've got one here. So let's say you want to link, you can see this is the staff member here, and we want to link the test person, you just move them over, that's it. And so you work through, so if you're, you have to make sure you save it. So, you know, there's all different members of staff here. So who have we got on the call today? So let's just say we had, if you wanted to link Graham, let's say, who's not in the system. Of course, I would choose for one person who's not on the test system. Who else have we got here? These might be, there we go. So we want to link, now we can link relevant people to Anna. You just move them over from this side to that. It's as easy as that. You just select who you're moving it to. So I'm going to cancel that one out. But now you can see I can now see 3 people because I've been linked to them. I'm logged in as an admin at the moment, so it's a little bit different because I can see the whole system. So that's how easy it is as a manager. You can link the staff to the relevant people that they work with. And so that way they've got access to the information they need and only the information that they need. So we're going to have a look at the dashboard. So as a manager, you'll have access to different dashboards than perhaps some of the support staff tools. So we still have recent activity. This pulls through. Oh, I remember your test system. It's on your test system, and one doesn't quite work, does it? So. But we don't. You probably, as a manager, you probably wouldn't use recent activity as much anyway. That's mainly a staff tool for they're basically like shift handover notes, communication notes. As a manager, you'll probably find much more use in the My People dashboard. So this will show you all of this. Is a great dashboard. You can see here at a glance all of the people that you're responsible for. So I'm an admin, so I'm set to the top level. So unfortunately, I've got all the data that's in your test system. But you can, if you're an area manager, let's say, and you want to just zoom in. So I just want to see what's happening in area 3. Let's say you can select there, and then you can deselect, or you can deselect the whole lot from the top here. And then just find, I just want to see the people who are in outreach, let's say. So you can filter down, and you can, know, particularly if you're like area managers, regional managers, where you might have a lot of people that sort of sit under your umbrella, as it were. So you've just got, the names. You can see when they were created in the system. You can see what location they're assigned to, and this is really good. So when you're looking at an auditing tool, when you're looking at a snapshot, you want to see what's happening in your services as a manager. You can see here how many plans have we got. Now, if someone's got 2 published plans, 2 unpublished plans, and 4 overdue, someone's got 8 plans, it probably needs looking into, because I would say everyone should only have 1 plan. But you might also see, so you can navigate from this screen. We'll have a look at that. You'll see how many outcomes are in place for an individual. So we can see here, we've got 7 outcomes here with 11 sub actions. You can see here in the support plan, how many risks are rated, how many in that support plan, in that risk management section, how many have been rated at high risk, how many have been rated at medium, how many at low. Really useful snapshot, so you know where to focus on. If you know someone's got a lot of high risk assessments in their support plan, then you probably put a little bit of extra focus on making sure that service is safe. Then we have the sign-offs. You can just check if there's anything pending. Oh, look, so one support plan can't get published at the moment, or is overdue because we're pending a sign-off, or how many sign-offs have been done, or how many have been rejected for whatever reason. If you remember, so the sign-off functionality in the support plans, if there's a certain risk level reached, you can assign it to a manager to sign off. We can see how many notes they've got. So, I mean, obviously this is your test system, but in real life, if you had someone with no care notes, no logs, no activity logs whatsoever, probably be slightly concerning that you start leaving any records. So you can have a look into it, and you can also see who's been linked to this person, who works with this service user, who works with this, who supports this individual. You can see the team as well. So it's quite a handy little snapshot. And if you right click anywhere on that record, you can go straight to, you don't have to go all the way back to the people page. So as a manager, if you just, left click, on that person, you can go straight to their plans, you can go to their unpublished plans, you can go straight into their outcomes, you can look at their profile, you can look at their hazard reports, those are their risk assessments, you can see their notes and logs, or you can go straight to their calendar. So it's a really handy navigation tool. And my recommendation for management, for managers especially, this is the first place you start on most days. Okay, so that's one of the, so that's the people I support, or my people, I think it's called in your system. Yeah, so my people dashboard is that one. So you can also, if you're doing sort of snapshot audits, you can have a look at my plans. This will show you, so as a manager, all the people you're responsible for. Again, you won't be responsible for as many as I've been set to here. You can see all of the plans that you're responsible for, and this is really handy just so you can see here we've got some due date alerts. So these plans are overdue. So again, as a manager, you can just keep on top of someone's got a plan review coming up, someone needs their plan reviewed, or the plan review's overdue. You can see if there's any notes attached to it. And again, you can go straight to, there we go, you can go straight to a person's plan from that dashboard. So that's really useful sort of navigation tool. So you can focus, you can see what you need to focus on, where your priorities are, what needs most attention immediately. Okay, so that's the my plans dashboard. Then we have my tasks. I might get that relabeled, I'm not sure, because it should really be my outcomes. And again, your system should truck along a bit quicker than mine, because you'll be set to the people that you work with. So here you can all of the people that I work with, you can now see all of their outcomes. So so as a manager, you've got a really good overview. You can see here the ones that are in this sort of salmony pink color don't have any KPIs attached to them yet, because they've got this sort of, it depends on what screen you're looking at. I've been told, so some people think it looks orange, some people think it looks pink. So I'm going to go halfway and say it's salmon. So if it's been shaded in this sort of salmony color here, it means that there's no KPI linked. What that means is we've actually configured Outward system that you actually won't be able to save, you won't be able to finish that outcome until you've attached a KPI to it. So you won't be able, so if you've completed it, or even if you haven't achieved it, you won't be able to save it until you've linked that KPI. So that just keeps the integrity of your reporting together. Because if if you leave out some, then the data becomes fairly meaningless. So this way, we've configured the settings so that you have to attach KPIs, so that it's nice and consistent every time someone achieves an outcome, it's feeding through that KPI data for Outward. But from this dashboard, you can see, so the blue dots, that means it's pending, hasn't started yet. Green dots mean it's in progress. If you had a little tick, it means it's recently been achieved. And if I have a cross, it means it's recently not been achieved, but has been archived. And again, you've got filters here. You can see if you just want to see all of the archived ones that we've abandoned or we couldn't do. Or if you're an area manager, again, how are we getting on? We can filter down. You can look at specific staff where an outcome's been assigned to somebody. So assigned to. So let's say all of the outcomes assigned. I'm not going to use Graham as an example because we know he's not in the test system for some reason. But we can find some, or you can be all staff. You can filter through here. You can show all outcomes, all the ones that are on hold, show all the ones that are in progress. So you can filter down and you can sort of see which ones are only overdue. That's a really useful one. So all of the outcomes that are overdue that you're responsible for, and then you can filter down by location. So it just helps you keep on top of, you've got lingering outcomes hanging around the background. They might have been abandoned or something. Then you can use that to keep your data clean. Remember, any system is you only get out what you put in, really. So there's a ruder version of saying that that's quite a common phrase. So we can also see here, this is a quite handy button as a manager as well. People without plans or outcomes. This would generally, you would hope anyway. That button's not switched on. I will show you on the demo system. You would hope that would always be 0. But sometimes, say someone's new into your service. If we have a look at people with no plan or outcome. So here we go. So you can see here, all of these people don't have any active plans, don't have any outcomes. I've just made a note of that, Graham or Robinson, if you're on the call, I will get that setting fixed for you. So that will just tell you who doesn't have a plan, who doesn't have them. Generally, it's because they're new. It's generally because they've just started in service or just returned to service, and so you haven't, they've just been activated. And then we've got some inactive plans. So these are the old plans. So these are plans that have not been viewed or updated. So if someone hasn't even read a plan, it was you can see here, this plan here was last viewed in 2015. So that after a certain period of time, it ticks over and it tells you it's inactive. And that's just that's handy for housekeeping. It might just be you need to archive a load of old plans, or it might just be that these plans are just need to be set to, just change settings. But it's quite handy. You never lose anything in iplanit. It's always there in the background. And then finally, you've got the My Staff button. So as a manager, again, this will just show you who you've got in your team, who you're responsible for at your particular location. You tell them their role, and if you left click, again, you can see their activity log. So what you can see when that member of staff's been logging in, what they've been doing. Really useful for supervisions and things like that. You can easily just come through, review the quality of someone's note taking and things like that. Obviously, a lot of these will have no activity logs because this is your test system. So unless someone's been logging into the test system recently, there won't be much there. And again, the same filters, you can filter down if you're a regional area manager. But you can see what service users let me try and find someone who's actually got some data. You can see the service users somebody's linked to. There we go. So you can see all of the service users this person works with. You can see here's all the people they're linked to. Okay, and then you've got their details there. You can see all the plans that they're responsible for. You can see all the outcomes. So remember when you could assign an outcome. So even though a service, a person supported, the whole team can see an outcome, you still assign it to one person to take sort of ownership of. And from the My Staff screen, you can see that. And also if there's any risk assessments that have been put in place that they've created or that they've modified recently. Just if you want to go and check, make sure everything's as it should be. You can't take risks with risks. So as a manager, that's really useful navigating around using the dashboards. And I would say most manager roles, in most sort of management roles, it'd probably be the first place you go, just go straight to the dashboards because you're looking at what's happening, what's been happening, what is happening, what needs your immediate attention, what looks a bit off, what's a bit of an anomaly there somewhere, you know, why hasn't this person got any outcomes, why has that person not got any notes for 2 days. So it's a really useful tool just to navigate around, and you can see really quickly, you know, we've been on, I know there's a lot to take in the training session, but we've got through all those dashboards in, what, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. So, you know, at the beginning of the day, you can just you can really help set yourself up to what you're going to focus on. I certainly would be, this would be the first place that I would go if I was still managing services before I left for the other side. Okay, so they're main dashboards. Now we had a look in the other training sessions. You'll have your alerts will come through. Obviously, this is a test system, so it's not as active as your live system. So you wouldn't actually have 1,200 overdue outcomes. But when the alerts do come up, you should, we should never press that now. When you alerts do come up, you can just click straight through, and this will tell you all of your overdue outcomes, all of your overdue plans. So again, excuse me. So again, you can, this just brings you through to those dashboards, but it's focusing you on the ones that are overdue. And again, in real life, I wouldn't expect you to have 1,600 overdue plans. If you did, I imagine you have much bigger problems than your alerts needing switching off. So that's really getting around the system, and your data goes in. So really, the next step is getting the data out. So if we go through to Outwards Reporting Suite, we've got a number of different sort of big icons here. I'm not going to go through every single report in the system. There's about 80 or 90. We've got a couple of custom ones in the pipeline for Outward, it's just been analysed now as well. But just to give you a feel, and I have to navigate around, and the things to look out for as a manager in the report and dashboard. So we've got the big icons we'll take a look at in 2 secs. So we've got person reports. So these are little reports around the person supported, your service users. So you've got, and what I would recommend really, the best thing to do, rather than, I'm not going to go through every single one here, I would say have a look at some of them, just take a look at a report. So let's have a look at, so right at the beginning, the first training session, we looked at profile, where we configured the profile. So we have a look at active person export. So this is all of that profile data, all of that information that we're capturing, that we'd aim to capture. So now you can customize your report. So this screen will pop up, and you can say, okay, I want to see all of the people who are, I want to see their hours data, I want to see care management, I want to see everyone who had their profile reviewed, I want to see everyone, if you're doing demographic and equalities monitoring, I just want to see everyone, these are the fields, this is the information I want to see. All the stuff you want to count, then you have these options at the top. You can export as a CSV, so that will send it into a spreadsheet. Basically, if you're not familiar with CSVs, it's a comma delimited file. It's basically a spreadsheet, but without any formatting around it. They're quite useful if you're putting different reports together from different parts of the system, because you can copy and paste and you can manipulate the data. You can export it as an XML file. That's normally for integrations and things. But we're going to look at this one on screen. So I'm just going to click on print. And now you can see all of those fields we've chosen. I can export some data. So this is all that profile data that we looked at. We can see these are all the fields that we checked. Okay, so there are different ways around each of these reports, and you know, some of them you can, they'll just count the numbers for you, things like that. Like I said, I don't think there's much point in going through every single report right now. I would say have a look, check, just go in and have a look at some of these reports and see what they look like, get a feel for them. So you've got all of your outcome reports. So you can look at your outcomes by location, you can look at your outcomes grouped by their KPIs, although I think you've only got one set of KPIs anyway. Then look at your plan reports. So this is really useful. You can export, so you know, how many active plans you've got, you know, how many plans are in place, etc. So this is really useful if you're exporting data that you need to do something with, if you've got a report to hand in, or you've got a, you know, you're bringing different data together. As a manager on a day-to-day basis, you might not necessarily need to keep churning out reports. You just want to monitor what's actually happening on a report and what's happening. And that's where these buttons down here are quite handy for. So if we start with person reporting, this basically these tell you, and so there's another test who we've been using in this training. That will basically give you the entire person's history. So there we go. I'm going to review this on screen. Print message. Okay, so now I can see how many times that person has logged in. We can see what we can see who's been linked to this person. We can see what support plans they have in place. We can see their outcomes and actions, all of their notes and logs. So this is basically the entire history of someone. Handy if you ever need to export them for investigations or anything like that, or if you just want to export that and save it if you're archiving someone, you can just save it somewhere else. Just as, though to be honest, your data is much safer on iplanit servers than your own probably. So that's person reporting. So in a similar way, we have staff activity reporting. So this, I'm going to choose me. This again is really useful if you are coming up to appraisal or supervision time. If you just want to check on, so here we see all of the staff activity. You can see how many times someone's logged in. You can see all the people that person has a relationship, who they work with, who are they linked to. These are the notes that someone's created. You can see here the numbers of notes here. You can see the outcomes that person's been working on, what the reasons for achieving and not achieving. So really good sort of overall monitoring data. So then again, if we're looking at live auditing, live management as well, we've got plan reporting, really useful, particularly at an area and regional level, but also if you're even as a manager as well. So now we can see here we've got some nice data graphics. And really this just makes it a little bit easy to read. You don't necessarily need to print everything off. So we can see here how many plans we've got in total. Remember, this is the test system, this isn't your live system. How many published plans, how many unpublished, how many have been archived, how many are overdue. Okay, so we can see here, this is the type of plan we've got. And now you can see we've updated the version 2.1 outward care support plans. Then the old plans, you had 821 of those. Then the September 2015 version of your plan. So you can see all of the data here for the different types of plan you've got. And you can zoom in a little bit and then take a look. So now we can have a look at, if we look at that type of plan, just in case you didn't see what button I was pressing. Oh, I came out too far. So here we have, so if you, the person icon, that will tell you, you can see you've got 997 types of this plan in total somewhere in the system. You can see all of the hazards for that plan, it'll take you straight through. You can see all of the review details, but this button here, the plan details, we zoom in on that, it's like a little calendar, like a little list, checklist here. Now we can see even within those plans, how many different sections have we got filled in. You can also see how many have we, let's filter it by the due date, when they're due to be reviewed, what's missing. You can say, let's look at every, let's look at every plan that we started in the last 5 months. Let's say we can go back, we can filter down by date, and you can see where all of that data is, who's got what in the system, in their plan, sorry. And you can see, and again, so all of these icons here, if you can zoom in, you can have a look at all of the hazards, and you can, there's your hazard export there. That's really useful, particularly on an organization level. You can see, it's like almost like a individual risk register. You can just export all of the hazards that you've got sitting in all of the plans in your system. You can just export that straight away. You can, so that even though we've got data graphics on screen here, make it a bit easier. This might be thing you don't necessarily need to print this data out. You just need to look at it and have a look around and just check what's happening. And but you can export them here. So any of the data graphics pages, there will be an export button in the top corner. Okay, so that's the plan reporting. So again, I would just suggest you have an explore, have a look around. You can't break it. If you are worried, then log into your test system and try it there. So then we've got the survey reports. We haven't really looked at the surveys very much in this training. It wasn't really on the list, but we can always come back and do some. There's no data in there anyway, but we can look at that separately. So there's a whole range of reports, but for me, I think the most important set of reports in the system sit in your KPI reports here. So this is where we evidence, this is where we show how good your services are, how all the hard work that your managers and your support workers have put in, and what it's actually doing for real life people in the real world, and that is achieving outcomes. So our general feedback from the CQC is that from some of the providers, CQC love looking around this section. So let's have a look at, because we can also, at the moment, you've only got one set of KPIs, and that may be the way that Outward like it. They haven't, that's the way it's always been. We can set it to have CQC Chloe's, we can set internal KPIs and things like that. But at the moment, you're working with your sort of set of KPIs. And now we can see out of all of those outcomes that we linked, let's say we thought this outcome relates to economic well-being. Now we can see, we did it, and only 15% we didn't do it. And being healthy, staying safe. So we can drill down, we can look at individual KPIs, see how we're doing. If you're looking at it from a corporate view, or if you're looking at it from a regional or area point of view, you can filter by location. I just want to see what's happening at whatever these codes mean. HOS, what is that? Can't even work that out. But let's say, if I was Catherine Jones, let's say at Area 1, I just want to see what's happening in my area. So now we can see we've got some lead KPIs and some sub KPIs there. Okay. This might be quite old. Okay, but you can filter down by location. You can filter down by date range. You might want to just look at people who've left, or how are we doing? If inactive, someone's left, you might be reviewing. Did they leave because they weren't achieving their outcomes? Who knows? Or you can look at any date range. So there's a whole load of filters you can choose from here. And again, of course, you can export KPI data, person expert. All of this information all sits up here in the exports. But what's just as important, if you remember when we were looking at outcomes, when you set the status of an outcome, so we did it or we didn't do it, it prompts you to choose a primary reason. And that's really, really useful. So CQC inspectors may come in, you give them a temporary login, normally one that's read only, don't worry, we don't let them change anything. But they like navigating. So yeah, we're saying here, we have achieved 67.5% of our KPIs relating to economic well-being. Okay, that's all very well. Why are we doing that? How did we do that? So then if we have a look at this little thing under we did it, we click on the magnifying glass, and now it brings us through. So those reasons that we've configured in the system, this is where the data comes out. And now you're starting to evidence, okay, we're achieving these outcomes because mainly the people are really engaged with their support. So that means our staff are really good at identifying what an outcome is. It means our staff are really good at supporting people. It means that the people supported are really engaged with their own outcomes, and we've been promoting an outcome-focused approach. And you've got the data here, and you can even go down and see all of the people who it actually applies to as well. You can see all the comments and the notes and things that have been left against it. So CQC love that, love all of this. But just as important is seeing, okay, why aren't we achieving some of these outcomes? Where have we fallen short? What's happening here? And the same thing, if you click through on your magnifying glass, now you can see the person didn't want to, or didn't want to engage with support. So, you might just be someone, they had an idea for an outcome, but just really didn't want to do it. Or the person changed their mind, probably the most common one. If that keeps coming up, then that probably means, you can review, you can use this data to review. If someone keeps saying that they're changing their mind, it probably means that you're not very good at identifying what an outcome is in the first place, or you need to get better, or you need to be more realistic, or something. There's information that you can use. If people aren't achieving their outcomes because of the lack of funding or lack of community services, you've got evidence, and you can go back to your commissioners and say, we can't help anyone achieve their outcomes because there's just not enough money. And then commissioners will shake the magic money tree and give you everything you ask for. I think that's how it works anyway. So you've got all this really useful data to look at how you're performing, but also why are you doing what you're doing. And it's a really good way to share best practice. It's a really good way to celebrate your staff's hard work. At the end of the year, if you're doing your sort of stakeholder reports, there's some really good information you can send across. So yeah, so all of this data is really useful for, if you've got end of year board reports and to reports to your stakeholders and your service users. You've got some numbers, you've got some evidence. You can see, we're really good at achieving our outcomes, specifically economic well-being, specifically being healthy, specifically staying safe. And this is why, because our staff are really engaged, because our people are really engaged, because the support was reviewed regularly and we kept on top of what was happening. So you've got all these lovely data graphics, all this information that actually we're moving away. And this is, Outward have been using iplanit for some time, so Outward are a bit ahead of the game in terms of moving to a much more person-centered approach and an outcome-focused approach, because we're not talking about inputs now. This reporting now, we're evidencing the impact all of your work is having on real-life people, and it's the most important thing for me, certainly. We're not measuring how long you spent making a cup of tea with someone, because that doesn't make a difference to anyone's life. This is what makes a difference, and you've got some really good evidence here. And what we really like as well, CQC inspectors will say, oh, right, okay, so you're achieving these outcomes, that's great. And then they say, okay, and so you're achieving them because you're really good at reviewing your plans. Okay, well, I want to have a look at someone in particular. And so we know from our notes and logs, and this is something for you to review as well, as managers, you can see we've got outcome nodes. So we've got data on how your region's doing, how your branch is doing, how your services overall is doing. Now we can zoom right in, and this is actually one person. And what this means, all your notes taken against outcomes, this isn't just endless notes about I had toast for breakfast and then had a shower. We're telling someone's life story. This is a person being brought to life, and you can see how their well-being is improving through reaching those outcomes. So you've got person data, and then if you go into your report screen, you've got a lot of service level data as well to back it up. So there's a lot of data around it. It's a data-driven system. It's not a set of pre-configured forms. I would, like I said, we can't go through every single plan report, every single outcome report here. We'll be here all day. But just have a look, take a look around, print a couple on screen, just have a look at the data, get used to filtering them down if you haven't used them already. Okay. So as a manager, they're probably most of the things that you will be doing. So this, for live auditing, for live sort of navigation around the system, prioritizing, that's where your dashboards come in. And then if you want to monitor your performance in a more formal way, probably periodically, then get into the reports dashboard, have a really good look around and see what's in there. There's a lot of data there. And I'm not too sure at Outward, password changes and things like that. I think, are they the responsibility, are they centralized, Graham? Is Graham there? I don't think he can hear me. Okay, so just really quickly, if you can see the settings when you log in, these little cogs, then you should be able to change someone's password. It's your member of staff. Let's see, it was me. There's me. You can go to more options, edit user, and then if you need to, you just reset a password just here. If you have a member of staff who leaves, or is away for a certain period of time, if you go to the bottom of in the staff wizard up in the maintenance screen, you can switch off their account, you can lock it. So say someone's going away for a long holiday to Australia for 4 weeks or something like that, just to prevent anyone trying to access by mistake or did it or maliciously, you can just lock their account. Say now they can't get in until you unlock it. Password expired, that means you can set a temporary password, and the first time they log in with it, it will automatically prompt them to set a new one, or it's enabled. And then you just type in your password here, retype it there, and submit changes. So like I said, I'm not entirely sure whose responsibility that is within Outward, but there's someone on the call who is responsible for changing passwords. This is where we do it in the staff wizard up here. And you just choose the person and then edit user and then go through. That really sort of concludes this set of refresher training. We can always come back to it. You've got a dedicated client manager. It would be passing over from me to my colleague Gemma, And Gemma will be introducing herself to Robinson and Graham and to all the team there, and hopefully talking to Nikki at some point in the future too, and just to look at how we get the best out of your iplanit system. But in the meantime, I'd say just have a good practice, mate. You know, it's a great system. I worked in care and support for 15 years before joining Aspirico, and I wish I'd had iplanit before then. Hopefully you found them useful. Hopefully there's nothing too scary in there. If you get stuck, drop me a line, drop Gemma a line, and we'll help you wherever we can.